the meeting.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Be with us as we carry on with the Cherokee's people's business. And please be with our people that's overseas and protect them. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, Ms. Shelley.
Yes, sir. Joe Bird.
Honey.
David Walkingstick. Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Jody Fishenhop. Nell Fulbright. Don Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
China Glory Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Blake.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Here. David Thornton.
Honey.
Victoria Vesquez.
Honey.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. Approval of minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to approve. Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll just drop down to reports. Marshal Service, Mr. Shannon Buell. Do not see Mr. Shannon Buell. We'll drop down to Office Attorney General Todd Hembry. I don't see Todd, but we've got a good rep here.
Hey, we're going fast.
I'm privileged to be here on behalf of the Attorney General who can't be here today. As many of you know, his mother passed about, I think it was a week ago, and he wanted me to be sure and express to all of you how much he appreciated and drew strength and comfort from the condolences and all of the good wishes and prayers that were said on his behalf. He and his family have very much appreciated that, and he wanted me to communicate that to all of you. For our report, one thing that we have new for the first time this month is the FOIA report, and it is on our website. So it's all information that you should have already received when you received the information on 2008 through 2014. But the current month's report is on our website, and they will be posted there every month so that anyone who wants to go can always go and look at the information that's posted about the FOIAs from the previous month. We had a hearing last Friday in the UKB case, the 2-acre tract case, in the federal court in front of Judge Frizzell. That hearing went, I think, as everyone anticipated. It's a hearing on the merits in that case. We have been instructed to have findings of fact and conclusions of law submitted to the court by September 8th. And so that's something that our office is working on right now. Other than that, I think that I'm open to any questions that you have, but those were the major happenings that we had.
Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sarah, for being here on behalf of the AG. Well, I'll talk to you privately, but so on the UKB hearing, just in general concerning federal courts, I'm trying to figure out how to ask questions that I think need to be answered without asking questions relevant, I guess, to the actual merits. So Councilman Keener and I were there for a portion of the arguments and such. How much do the oral arguments actually weigh? Oral arguments on the merits, right, was what was heard last Friday. How does that weigh in typically in a federal court setting? What is that like? Because people have asked, and I couldn't figure out how to explain it to them appropriately. Is there a public answer you could help me with?
I think probably the answer to that question is it depends upon the judge who hears it and how much how much they've made up their mind about the issues on the briefs, which have been submitted prior to the oral argument. So ordinarily in this type of case, the oral argument is an opportunity to answer the questions that the judge brings to the table after he's read all of the briefs and he has things that he's still not sure about or issues that concern him, and he has that opportunity to get the answers that he wants. So it just depends upon the judge, I think, how much that plays into the decision that he or she makes.
There was a considerable, and you just have to tell me if I'm crossing into the line because it's open litigation. So there was a considerable amount of history discussed, which our sovereignty, of course, is based on our history. So there's the version of United Kituah Band wants to present, and then there's what I understand is our history. But maybe there was things said that I didn't even, maybe even agree with, or that I wasn't for sure about. so is all that history is really documented in those briefs? So if something was misstated possibly during the hearing by anyone, they would go back to the briefs, or how would that work?
Certainly the Cherokee Nation laid its argument out in the briefs about the history as it's relevant to that case, and how relevant it is to the issues in that case, I think is an issue that people could disagree about. But those issues were most of the argument that already occurred in the briefs. So we make all of those arguments in the brief, and what you get at oral argument is just little bits and pieces of the much larger arguments that have been going on in the briefs. So it isn't really reflective of all of the parties' different arguments, I think, is the best.
If we have concerns about something that was stated, was what we got to witness was those oral arguments. If we have concerns about anything that was stated, what's the appropriate manner as legislators? Because you guys are tasked constitutionally with that. We don't want to overstep or misstep, but if we had concerns about anything, what is the best way to approach the AG's office about those issues, I guess?
Counselor Watts, are we talking about information that was presented from our side or UKB side? Clarify that.
I don't know that I want to get into that much detail.
Are we even need to go there?
Well, I'll just say that the Attorney General's office takes responsibility for the arguments made before the court. And I think to that extent that our office is the only people that can really make determinations about that when it comes to litigation decisions and how arguments are presented. So I think that's about all I can say about that.
So would it be appropriate if one of us called and visited? I know Todd's probably out of pocket right now, which I totally understand. But maybe call you or him, or who would we contact?
Well, anytime you have questions, I would say that Todd is the first line person to speak to. And if he wants to delegate that down to one of us, he certainly will do so.
Thank you, Sarah. You've been very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Anything else you want to cover?
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Good report.
Codification. We have Christina Carroll here to talk about codification.
Good afternoon. This project is an ongoing 18-year-long project, and I see the end in sight. And I know that you guys are anxious to have that done, and it seems like it never goes as fast as you want it to go. But I'm very encouraged. I talked to the publisher today. She verified that they are waiting on nothing from our office. Our office has completed all of the questions and review and everything, and that they are not waiting on anything from us, which is good. They are going to send me an index today for the volumes. We will have 5 volumes. They are 500 to 600 pages long each, which is quite a jump from where we are right now with 2 volumes. We also will be receiving the preface material, which includes a preface by the legislative body, by the executive body, and also one by A.G. Hembry. We will be looking at new covers. They're going to give us some samples of some different cover designs so that we can further narrow down how we want the cover to look. So that's going to be exciting to get. And bottom line, we should be getting final drafts sometime in the next month or so is where we're looking at getting final drafts back into our office. So we're making very good progress. It's getting very exciting. Do you guys have any questions?
Sounds like you're making good progress. Any questions for Ms. Christine Carroll? Good report.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great afternoon.
Yes, wait a minute.
I'm sorry. My question is not for Ms. Carroll. I
Okay.
apologize for being late today. I did have a question for Ms.
Sarah.
Carroll.
Okay.
If, with your
Okay.
indulgence, if we could go back for just a
Councilor
moment.
Coates? Yes.
Thank you so much.
Cross-examine.
Proceed.
I just wondered if you had any information. I'm getting texts and emails from Cherokee people in California, that the Cherokee Nation representatives have voted on an issue about recognition of the Winnemem-Wintun tribe. Do you have specifics or particulars about this?
I don't know anything about that.
Apparently, California tribes are rather upset with us. And I didn't know what this was about. And
Would you ask that again, Councilor Coates?
well, the things I'm getting, that the Cherokee Nation has voted against recognition or hearing a recognition argument for the Winnemem-Wintun band tribe in Northern California. And I had no idea what this was about, and I just was wondering if the AG's office perhaps had some background on it. But the information, or maybe the Secretary of State, the information I'm getting from people is that there are California tribes that are rather upset with the Cherokee Nation about this. So I don't know what to tell people.
You have any information on that?
I don't
Mr.
know
Secretary?
about this. I do know that there are, of course, the recognition regulations that, and there's been some consultations going on. It's certainly true that we've attended, including the Attorney General, including someone from administration has attended the meetings just to sort of learn and about the regulations. There's an extended comment period, but we've never come out, to my knowledge, against a specific tribe's recognition, but we will find out. I think we've got somebody taking notes on that, but we will get back to you.
I appreciate it.
I
Thank
thought
you.
It might have been about the consultations.
Yeah.
Councilor Buzzard?
This is completely a different subject as what we're talking about, so I'm going to talk about crawdads for just a minute. Secretary of State has got an email from me, and let me just explain a little bit to the committee of what's happening, because
Hey, Councilor Buzzard, hold on for just a second there. Are we going to get through with her on this recognition first? Councilor Coates, are we?
I'm finished, yes, thank you.
Okay.
My question's relevant to the recognition,
Okay, not crawdads.
not crawdads.
Okay.
I want to hear about crawdads.
I don't, not right now. We'll go to you, Councilor. We'll get to him in a
My
minute.
apologies,
You guys
Councilman
gonna make me
Buzzard.
hungry. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, the only thing is, I think the consultation that AG Hembry attended was in California. I had asked for follow-up on whatever written consultation we submitted concerning the issue, and I've not received it. That might be helpful, what we actually submitted in writing, and then any notes from that consultation session. And just to clarify, I want to make sure that we are on the same page. I do believe we have come out against individual fraudulent Cherokee groups, but I don't think that we've ever took a stand on other tribes, but I don't know if I understood the statement by the Secretary of State. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that there have been cases where they may consider themselves tribes, these other Cherokee groups, but we have resolutions on file for both Joint Council and this council that have opposed actual groups recognition, but not, it shouldn't include the Winnemem.
Wintun.
Wintun
I
in
agree.
California.
I
Just
do.
want to make sure.
I agree with the counselor's more narrow interpretation of what I said.
Okay.
Okay.
'Cause
You know,
if
we
it-
have a long-standing way of abiding by the criteria that's set before us, and we've discussed this, that the intertribal, we discussed it during joint council, there's a criteria for federal recognition that we abide by. And we always oppose these people that have not gone through those steps. And I don't see our Attorney General going in any other direction without, the guidance of this body or the executive branch. Is that correct?
That's been his direction to me.
Well, well, that would be news to me. I mean, there is a criteria for federal recognition, and it's not just because you know somebody. Yes, Councilor
And
Watts.
Mr. Chair, I'm really glad you're raising the issue because, and it sounds like they've been working on it, which is what we had discussed. But it would be helpful, I think, if we had that consultation to read.
Sure.
The way I understand that what the consultation is on is to actually lessen the standards.
Okay.
And that would open it up. I mean, granted, these are worst case scenarios that I'm painting, but the way that they're advocating or proposing to rewrite the federal regulations on recognition, that there are some groups that are like Boy Scout groups claiming to be tribes that would meet the new criteria they're proposing.
Okay.
And I find this problematic. And it also, we've identified over time those 225 plus fraudulent groups claiming to be Cherokee tribes. Some of those have been in existence long enough in this current century, or this past century, yes, that they would, in the last 100 years, that they could even possibly meet that criteria, which is problematic. And so I think, I hope maybe as a council, we help raise and elevate this issue to support what the AG's office and the administration is doing on it.
You don't want to lessen it for sure.
That's what they're proposing.
Yes. Now, Councilor Coates, is this tribe already federal recognized?
This is what I'm trying to find out. I mean, when I was at UC Davis, we worked with the Wintun Nation on a lot of things, and it was my understanding that they were federally recognized. The situation in California, though, is such that there are different bands of overall groups. Some are recognized, others are not.
Sure.
And so it's a very, very complex situation. So
Okay.
I'm not sure about the particulars of this particular.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all the questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Now, this is back to the secretary. Is that correct, Counselor Buzzer?
I'm gonna probably address Sarah, but this is a situation that I just want to bring to this committee, and also I know Attorney General's working on the not gaming, but wildlife compact with the state of Oklahoma. I know they're doing some work on that. But I just received a call just before I came here today from a full-blood lady. Her son was arrested last night for catching crawdads. Boy, he's a full-blood, lives in Kenwood. Of course, he was over in Mays County, just across the line there in Kenwood, and they arrested him, took him to jail. She called me and asked me, is there anything the Cherokee Nation can do? And not knowing any of the circumstances that surrounded this, I said, well, I don't know. You know, we'd have to know what went on before we could actually get involved with the thing. You know, I do remember that it seemed to me like there's a limit on what you can catch and stuff like that, but I just bring it up because this is probably the second time that this has happened about Cherokees or Indian people catching crawdads. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that, can you look into this public record to the court and see what went on?
I've already been instructed to do so.
Okay, good
I'm in
deal.
charge of all crawdad-related legal questions, so I'm on that.
And I think it's, you know, that's culture and traditional stuff to Cherokee. So I think we need to protect it as much as we can, and I know we still have to follow some of the laws and stuff, and I know the Attorney General is working on that portion of it. So anyway, I just wanted the committee to know what's going on out there.
And I did get an email from Todd
And
this
Indian
morning
country.
saying, look into it, see what's going on, and I'll do so.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Counselor Buzzer, was that by game warden?
Oh, that's what I wanted to know.
I don't know, that I just, they just called me and just gave me a little bit of information. I said, well,Ll have somebody check into it. So.
Good, and you're already checking into it?
I have not yet, but as soon as I get a chance to get to my desk and the phone, I will do so.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Sarah.
Is that good?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tax Commission, Ms. Sharon Swepston.
Afternoon. I believe you have my report in front of you, so I would try to address any questions that you might have.
Counselor Watts.
Thank you. I understand we're putting a tag office in at the Tulsa/Tulsa
Visitor Center.
Visitor Center.
The Welcome Center. We are looking at that location. We have to get approval from the state in order to do that because there will have to be some renovations to the building. And actually, the AG's office is working on that right now to make sure that there's not going to be an issue with any of that.
Yeah, because what I recall, and help refresh my memory, is that we signed an MOU or contract with the state that it would be a visitor center, which is
Yeah.
not a tag office.
Now, the visitor center is going to stay. We're
Okay.
going to share space.
Okay.
Okay. So half of it would be a visitor center and half of it would be a tag office. But we still have to get approval in order to make that modification.
So we're still several months out then, probably.
I would think so.
Okay, very good, because people are asking, so I want to be able to
Yeah,
answer.
it's not anything that's going to happen tomorrow. So.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Good question. Anybody else?
Okay.
Good report.
All right. Thank you.
Self-governance.
Hi, I'm thankful to be here on behalf of the Self-Governance Office. Vicky's unavailable. She's been participating in the Bureau of Indian Affairs Contract Support Cost Work Group this week. And she's also today at the Indian Health Service Tribal Self-Governance Advisory Committee. So she apologizes for not being here. She did ask me to mention a couple of things. The Self-Governance Office is currently working on the Department of Interior fiscal year 2015 reprogramming request. We've also begun looking into renegotiating our Office of Special Trustee MOU. Another project we've been working on is looking into expanding self-governance within the Environmental Protection Agency. This is a a task that the Cherokee Nation EPA has asked us to look into, so we're making progress on that. If you have any questions, I'll either take them or have Vicki follow up with you.
Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Vicki. Please extend thanks that she couldn't be here, as well as your entire team for the contract health support cost settlement. I know you guys have been instrumental throughout the process, and we had our earlier settlement, and now this second one, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's a
Thank
lot
you.
of work, I know. Thank you.
Councilor Buzzer?
The contract support settlement, I know there's going to be attorney fees added to that. Do we have any idea what the nation's going to wind up with? Or any numbers at all?
Well, I can tell you the settlement, you know the settlement numbers, and with the interest that goes a little bit above 31 million, I would defer to the Attorney General's office to answer that question. Probably be more appropriate.
Sarah, do you have those?
I don't have that information right now. I'm sure that I can get it. I can speak with Todd about it. I don't know if I'm
The other thing is, the question I had is, when we look at, I was in environmental services for years, I worked in this, and I know we didn't have contract support dollars coming in at that time. And I don't know what the percentage was. Have we calculated the percentage of what portion would go to environmental services, water and sanitation program versus health versus your office, I guess?
Well, I've actually heard Vicki talk about this, and environmental and sanitation, stuff like that does come through our compact, so they normally are entitled to contract support costs. However, this is settlement money, and there aren't those same restrictions, so it would be up to this body to appropriate those dollars.
And Mr. Chairman, the reason I'm asking these questions is that I'd like to know, get an opinion if Billy Hicks, he runs the organization now, the one I used to run, but if they was to get a portion of that contract support dollars, could any of those dollars be used to use as a match for funds, to leverage funds from Indian Health Service, or?
I'll have to have Vicki follow up with you on that one.
But what I was getting at is there's some special projects out there, Chairman, or that we could do if Billy Hicks or Water and Sanitation had some access to those dollars.
Sure.
Because I know the council has put in some money every year in it, but still, if he had those contract support dollars in his shop too, he could also use those as leverages too. But if you could find out what those numbers are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be good. Yes, Councilor Keenan?
Thank you, Chairman. Clint, on the contract support work group, are you sitting on those with Vicki?
Occasionally, not always.
I was just kind of wondering what the mood of the group was as far as how much they're accomplishing, how much they're being listened to, because this will affect national policy, right?
Right.
So do you get a feel for that at all?
I think with Congress's recent commitment to fully fund contract support costs, agencies realize that they need to get their new policy right. And fortunately, we have an expert in Vicki on that work group, and she's very well respected, and she's been a vital part of that group, and I know she feels like they're taking it very serious.
Good. Is that something that you have online that you'd watch, or they're all private? Or?
They're private, but at the end of the process, there will be kind of a written report, if you will, and eventually the policy will be updated.
Do you have a time frame for that, or that today?
I don't have a specific time frame, but I know it would be soon because, they don't, how can I say it? They have to update the policy quick, or otherwise they'll be right back in the same situation where tribes are in litigation again. So within by the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good. Anybody else? Good report.
Thank you.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Clint Hastings.
Clint Hastings. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Gaming Commission report.
Good afternoon. My name's Kelly Myers. I'm here on behalf of Jamie. For those that aren't aware, Jamie's with his wife. They've started her radiation treatment today, so he sends his regrets on not being here, but if you could, please keep him and his family in your prayers. He submitted his report. If you have any questions, I'll take them or try to take notes to get them back to him for answers. There was one other item that he wanted for us to report. If you haven't heard, we lost one of our gaming agents at the Hard Rock.
Would you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry. We lost one of our employees this week. And he's a full-blood Cherokee. He was a Vietnam veteran. And the services are tomorrow, if anybody's interested. Bill Sunday. He was a Hard Rock gaming agent for the past 6 years.
Yes, Bill Sunday.
Is that in Dewey?
It's in Bartlesville. The service is in Bartlesville tomorrow. Sorry. Yes. At 11.
You have your report before you. If you don't have any more questions, and Councilor Coates.
Mine is not a question, but I, as you know, attended the Gaming Commission's meeting. It's, since I'm not around here most of the time, it was a pleasure to do so, and I just wanted to commend you and the commission, and I've already done so in a blog about the chair of the commission, Stacy Leeds, that I really, really appreciated the opportunity to be included in executive sessions of this commission. It's not something that all boards and commissions do. And I do just want to say that I was very, very impressed with the professionalism, with the compassion in every degree that was shown by you and others on the commission. And
thank you.
I just really want to commend you guys. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question about the implementation of the Gaming Act amendments and where that's at. Will you guys be providing us a report, or how will that work?
From my understanding, we're still waiting on some notification from NIGC. I think the deadline for them to respond or approve or whatever is coming up closely. I think sometime in August, at the beginning of August. I'm not for sure.
So,
I think it's
90 days.
will the council be provided a copy of that
Yes.
information? Okay, thank you very much. And my condolences to the entire team.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Human Resources. Mr. Nason Morton.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Nason Morton. I'm here on behalf of HR. Since last I appeared before you, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I've mentioned it briefly in the written report. We're working on a employee action notice that is paperless. And I kind of thought today you may not know what exactly an EAN is. Most things that occur for a change of a status of an employee, one of these forms comes with it, has the nice colored copies, and they go through for signatures. What I found out is when we were talking about it, the clinics, sometimes they would have to, when they get all the signatures they have, drive them down. And sometimes, you know, for fuel costs or economy of personnel, they may wait a couple days to drive them down. So we thought that we would get with the department and with the IT departments and see if we could come up with a paperless process to where we could email them all. We're working on it. Some of the departments were kind enough to let us experiment with them, and we can actually make sure it, one, is as easy or easier than the current process, and two, faster. So we're working with them, had a little short training session last week just to make sure it's going okay and they have input on it and they're going to play with it a little bit, and if it works, we're going to try it. Also, that is a short-term solution. One of the long-term goals we're looking at is to go completely paperless. I don't know if it's possible. We're just making sure we can do it and that's efficient. And since this paperwork touches various departments, we're getting input from every department involved in the process. But in the meantime, we have a possible solution to right now. And so instead of waiting, we'll see if we can use this for a little while and see if this will make it easier for departments to get people hired. Started meeting with individual departments, met with Career Services, Talking Leaves, Job Corps, basically went with how we've been doing their hiring since October 1, 2013 to now, and we also came up with a list of what they currently have pending, the jobs that they're wanting to fill and how those are going. Sat down with all the people on our side, all the people on their side, the people who actually do the process and go, what can we do better? What's taking so long on certain situations? How can we make sure that doesn't happen again? And just to make sure we have the process down, and just face-to-face discussion with our employees who work day-to-day with them, who may just by email, just make sure they meet more often and just talk and determine if something's taken quite a while, we'll figure out why and fix it. And plan to do that with all the departments. My goal on this one is to talk to registration and the nurses next, but we'll try to get all of them done by the end of this calendar year. Speak with all the departments. I don't have a update on how the pilot program is going on the interview process. The departments are giving positive feedback that they like it, but right now we'll keep doing it for a while and see how that's working. Did have an increase on the number of people that were hired or onboarded in the last month. On your report, it lists that for the calendar year there's 208. As of today, we have 258. So in the last 30 days, we got 50 people on. We're going to figure out what we're doing to get those numbers up. We're going to try to keep doing that. And I'm open for any questions.
Questions or comments? That was a draw.
Nathan, do you have any idea how many vacancies we had?
I can find out.
I'd like to have those numbers, and probably the rest of the committee would like those also.
And nationwide? About the nation?
Yes.
Is that it, Councilor Buzzer?
Yes.
Councilor Watts?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thanks for your diligence in responding back to us and addressing some long-term issues, and also the one-offs that I send you when people are needing assistance because they are frustrated by the process. I really appreciate you and your team's efforts to work with them and try to explain what is or isn't going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? One thing I'd like for you to look into, if it's not already being addressed, a couple of teachers at Sequoia High School, special ed, during the summer they go off of their insurance. Then we put them back on when school resumes. Check that out and see if there's a way we can keep them on the whole time. And this is a process that's been going. It may already be addressed, but
We're working on it, and there are several departments involved in trying to work on that.
okay.
Talking about the furloughing during the 8 weeks in the summer?
Sure.
Yes, sir, we are working on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Our marshal is just got a call a few minutes ago. He is out on call. He said he would be a little late, so we'll just go ahead and continue. If he shows, we'll let him report, and we'll just continue addressing our agenda items here. Down to old business, discussion, possible action, telephone, internet for the tribal council. Speaker.
Okay, we're back to this question from last month. Some of you had wanted to go off of the system, acquire your own telephone and internet, because in some of your areas, the telephones and internet that we're providing you is not working. Some areas apparently are covered by smaller internet services that give you a better reception. So, where we left it last month was you were gonna think whether you wanted to do it, and if you wanted to do it, what it was gonna take for you to acquire what we're offering you now, the same type of service, but with your own local providers. And that's where we're at today.
Councilor Fulbright.
Well, I'm just strictly speaking for myself. I have great reception. I like what I've got. I don't want to change it. And I'm just saying, I don't want to complicate things up when we just got 1 year left in office. And my attitude is why bother with changing it this late day. But for those that have poor reception, I don't want to change, but do we all have to do the same thing?
Let me add that it's an all or none deal.
Okay. That's what I'm just making my statement. I'm happy with what I've got, but
We can't see how we could keep part, let part go. It's got to be a majority prevails here.
Yes, Councilor Vasquez.
I'm sorry, I missed that part last week or last month.
Okay.
So I have not checked anything.
Okay.
So.
You are provided telephone and internet service as being part of our group.
Right.
And it's provided to you through Cherokee Nation. Now, this option would allow you to find your own telephone service and your own internet service. And where we left it last month was I didn't know what personal costs were entailed if you acquired that service, what it would cost you. So we just talked about it and tabled it. And I'm willing, I'd be glad to talk about it and table it again this month if people still need more time. I'm not in any hurry. It's just whatever the pleasure of the group is.
I have not had time to check how much it would cost me to change.
So it probably looks like we need to table it one more month, but before we do that, let's see what everybody else.
Were you gonna check into doing our own server, all that, some options for us?
As far as doing our own server, having our own, basically, council-specific email accounts and stuff, all the software and computer, and we'd still have to have somebody as far as maintaining it and stuff. I mean, it was around $80,000. I mean, it was just not even really feasible, so.
And that was the startup cost.
Yes,
because
yeah.
there would be a continuing cost.
Right.
Either way we're doing it now, how we're doing it now, or how we do this is going to be much cheaper than how we could do that.
Right.
So
And that wouldn't even be addressing the actual phone service part of it either. So that would just be addressing email and the email accounts basically. So.
Now, one thing we might add about the email accounts, everybody has a Cherokee.org. I don't know if everybody realizes this, but your Cherokee.org can be bounced over to another email so that you're essentially getting all of what you're getting now, but you're just getting it at a different, your own private provider. And I've been doing that for 7 years. I don't know if everybody realizes that they can do that, but it's very simple to do. I just found it was easier for me to look at one email account rather than multiple email accounts.
Councilor Buzzards, what do you think?
Well, I guess my question is, have we come up with a stipend amount that those numbers would be? And then do you take care of your own bills every month? I guess that's what you'd have to do. I kind of like the idea myself.
Councilor Keener?
I like the idea of switching, but I'm not, either way, I go either way.
And that's the way I am.
Okay. Garvin?
I'm okay either way.
Okay. Fishing Hawk?
I like the idea of
us being on our own just because we're a separate branch government.
Frank?
I'm fine with it.
Counselor Snell?
I like where it is. I got my dog figured out.
Got it trained.
I gotta cut him up, you know.
Okay. Counselor Thornton?
You can still have your dog. I just really can't make up my mind for what this would be. I think you probably, if we switch to the stipend, that we would probably, through that stipend, would purchase our own equipment. Our hard drives and our computers would be our own. I believe that's right. Is that right?
Now, this actually, the computers are a different issue. They're not part of this. This is just for your internet service and your telephone service.
Okay.
The computer issue will come up next. It's a different issue.
Well, that's the only issue that I have. I just soon stay where we're at then.
Counselor Walkenstick?
Either way.
Counselor Lay?
I may be, here's the deal on the telephone that I'm provided by the council. Quite often, I don't get the phone calls or the emails until if I drive towards Tulsa. And all of a sudden, they start rolling in, about 20 or 50 of them at a time. And I realized either A, I got left out of something, or B, I missed a message that I should have answered that was important, or both of the above. The computer service that I was given does not work at my house. I'm on my own computer software system, whatever you call it, the receiving system. I've never been able to use that computer system. So I'd love to change it, but I don't want to mess somebody else up that's got good service. So I'm a little bit conflicted here. If I mess 2 or 3 people up that are perfect, then I don't know that I want to do it, but I'd like to do something different for my own personal.
Sure. Point well taken. Counselor Baker?
I'm indifferent. Either one is fine with me.
Okay. Counselor Cope? Counselor Watts?
It doesn't matter to me, but I'm understanding something different now. So so for clarification, this is only on the service for the phone and the service for internet, but it's not about the computers that we purchase on our own or the...
No, that's what we're looking into, the cost of what it takes to buy a whole new setup. And once we have that cost, then I'll come back to you and say, do we want a one-time stipend so you all can go out and find your own equipment? Or do you want us to purchase your equipment and put it within the system?
Okay, so then we're going to pose 2 different questions.
Yes, that's a little early to pose that question. I need another probably month or 2 on that.
Yeah, I mean,
You
we
want some
actually
time?
got some info. I
just
got a little
wanna
bit of
make sure my
information
mind's
today,
clear.
but
Now, what we could do is roll this question into that question. We just weren't ready to answer that question yet.
Speaker, would you roll that question into this other question and give us option A, option B? I'm more of a,
We can do that.
with the cost.
We need to clarify one last thing then, too. So there's the issue of phones. So I don't know how Cherokee Nation has it set up, but in the past, if it got ran over by a float at Christmas, if anything happened, there was an insurance policy, I believe the Cherokee Nation covers. So
you'd have to purchase insurance.
And I'm not hearing about the phone equipment. That's the one piece I'm missing. And then whatever you see what there's a piece missing.
It's all on you.
Which is a
You wouldn't bring
critical
it back
piece.
to me and I wouldn't do anything.
Well,
you'd have to go to where you.
So Gail's gonna need more job responsibilities after this.
What we're hoping, Carrie, if I could answer that, what we're hoping is we add enough into this stipend that you all buy the insurance. Because there is insurance available for your private usage.
I just want to make, I just want to put it all out because I think that would become an issue. I think almost every one of us have, I think if I recall over the time we've been on council, something's happening inevitably. So,
That's why it'd be good, Speaker, if you could put this on paper and give us the
yes.
option
I will
one,
get
two.
with Jody then, and we will work out option A, option B.
Is that okay?
And I know that we're all intelligent adults, that's
Yeah,
not
and
what
we're
I'm
gonna-
saying. But I think people need to know that that expectation's there, because we're so used to being taken care of by Gail and the rest of the staff, that we need to make that step in that, make sure it's funded and it's there.
Here's what I would like to do, come back, let's take 2 months. Come back in September, and y'all give me a yay or nay, because I want to start it with the new fiscal year, if we're going to change, and if we're not going to change, then we don't have to worry about it.
Sounds
And
good.
for the record, I don't have a dog in the fight, don't care. I can tell you that our staff would have a lot less work if you take the individual, but we're here to please you however you want it done, okay?
Yeah, because regardless of what we do, I'm gonna still have Gail help me out.
Big baby. But if we have 2 months, we should
Right.
have the other figure by then.
I'm gonna be a little bit busy
Well,
in the next
now, let
few
me
weeks,
ask you
so.
this, though, Jody, if we are going to make a purchase, we want to make it before the end of the year, so maybe we can't wait 2 months. Maybe we gotta do it in August, so that we can have time to,
That probably wouldn't be that big of a,
wouldn't be that big of a problem. Do you want to do it in August or September? To have it ready to present to the whole package?
let's do it in
to 'em?
September.
September, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
is
right.
that okay with everybody?
That would be my request,
Okay.
that we table this for a period of 2 months and bring it back up at September rules.
Okay,
That's a motion, I second.
okay. Motion second, table it for 2 months.
And Gail has one thing she wants
I
to
just wanted to
add.
know what package you get here, so if you intend to have the same package, you have mobile to mobile unlimited, you have nights and weekends unlimited, unlimited text messaging, unlimited data, and unlimited picture and video.
At least that.
Provided in writing
What
to
we'll
us.
do is have.
This is what you have,
We'll
what we're doing
have,
right
we
now.
will have
Can you
Gail,
get us each a-
we will have
Yeah.
Gail email, in one email to
Yeah.
everyone, everything that you have, so that when you go check with your provider, you'll know what you're already getting. Okay.
Okay. All right. All signify by saying aye. All opposed, so September, Speaker. Next item on agenda, enact, amend, and revise elections. Councilor Coates and Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I hear you, Jody. Kara just said the same thing. Could it be any fuzzier? I'm sorry, it's gone through several metamorphoses electronically to get to me and to get printed out. So, but what this act proposes is a small change to the election code. It's on page 28 here, and what it does is allow for the placement of a document called a jurat, which you have examples of it on the other, 2 examples that are used in the state of California, inside of the envelope with the ballot, to change it so that this is also an option, because we have a situation in California, and the letter from Commissioner Horton acknowledges this situation, that from California, the Election Commission receives a number of different things. They sometimes receive envelopes that are notarized. They sometimes receive this jurat, one of the 2 that are shown here. And in the past, they have accepted all of these as a notarization of that ballot. But because of the amendment of the language that we made to the election code in January, the language now specifically says that only the envelope can be notarized. And while Mr. Horton's letter clearly states that the Election Commission intends to follow the same policy that it always has in the past, as we know, the Election Commission cannot create policies that are contradictory to the law. And since the law says specifically the envelope, if I was, as I stated it to the Speaker last month privately, if I was a candidate in the election next year, and I had lost the election by 250 votes or less, and I thought that the vote from California had probably gone against me, I would certainly bring a court challenge on this specific point. And so that's what I'm hoping to avoid here, that we will not have that kind of a court challenge, that the ballots from California will be accepted so that they can be notarized in a way that is compliant with not only Cherokee Nation law, but California state law. California state law does not allow an envelope to be notarized unless it has language on it that is specific to that state. And of course, the Cherokee Nation envelope will not have any mention of California on it. California is allowed to notarize things from other jurisdictions, but this has been the way they've done it. And I think that the remarks that I've gotten from both Mr. Horton and Mr. Chafin from the Election Commission are that they indeed see a variety of things that come in from California. Some do notarize the envelope because some notaries don't follow California law, apparently, when they see this. Others notarize the jurat, which is more proper. Apparently for their state law. So it's a very, very small change that will particularly enable voting in one state to go forward smoothly. It follows what the Election Commission has always done in past years, so it would not be anything different than what they have done in past years. And as I said, if you look at the voting record out of California for year or election cycle after election cycle, it's been approximately 250 votes that have come from that state. So we are trying to assure that the Cherokee Nation citizens in the state that has the second largest population of our citizens after Oklahoma can have an ease of voting and some assurance that their votes will indeed be counted. So I would move to accept this small amendment.
I will second.
A motion to second, discussion?
Julie, is there some reason we wouldn't put the jurat, I mean, we've got the acknowledgement on the right-hand side of the envelope. Could we not put the jurat information on the left-hand side of the envelope and they sign that? Because we're also now putting it in another envelope which doesn't expose anything to the public. We have that part of the envelope that we could put the jurat on.
What I'm thinking is that even with the jurats that you see here, they still mention the state of California. And I think that California law is that something about that state has to be on the...
Well, don't they fill in state of California? I mean,
Yes.
Isn't the...
If you look here, it's actually printed on...
Are you saying it has to be printed there for the 250 votes
I'm saying that the state of California, is my understanding, this is what's on their jurat, and by their law is what's required on a ballot before a notary can, some mention of the state of California.
So they can't fill in, you can't put like state of and have a line and they fill in California?
That's the way most notaries are.
This is state of Oklahoma.
It'll say
But
state of
blank.
Oklahoma and county.
Of blank.
Yeah, state of, county of, and then the thing in the bottom.
Councilor Fishon, did you want to comment on that?
That's what I was going to say. All notary forms say state of blank, county of blank. And you fill it in.
Okay.
And we would just print this information on the left-hand side of the envelope. Then the person signs above the, I think you're calling it jurat, signs above that or signs over on the acknowledgement if they can do a notary. And we're covered both ways. My concern is I want to see them sign something that the notary's signing and not see them sign an envelope and we don't see it notarized or a jurat added to it. We just see a piece of paper put in the envelope
Well, the jurat itself is notarized, has
Well,
the notary seal on it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, I guess I'm not following you.
The voter's signature's not on the jurat, is what we.
I want to see the voter's signature on the same thing that the,
Okay, I see
the
what you're
note.
saying.
And I'm thinking we could take that empty section, the left-hand section of the envelope, we could put the jurat on there, have them sign, have them do the jurat, if that makes them more comfortable. Everything goes in the privacy envelope, and it's sent in. It works. I mean, you got that vacant space on the envelope. We could do that.
Can we put it in the law that that will be on the envelope?
But why would we need to? Because that could be in their policy. We don't dictate what's on that envelope in the law.
Yes.
I mean, is there a reason not to give the election board the opportunity to put it in their policy to cover it by?
I think there's a reason, and I don't want to cast aspersions on this election board, but we're setting this not only for this board in this upcoming election, but for all time. And I don't want to leave it open for an election board in the future to not do this, to not make an accommodation for the citizens in California. And if we don't legislate it, we are leaving it open possibly for that to happen at some point in the future, is the way I would see it.
Councilor Watts, do you have a comment?
The way I read it, we need the amendment in order to honor the variances. It did come up in the 2011 election, from what I recall, in the courts. And we need to make sure that I know during the process of the 2013 elections, when I was actually watching, they go back and they look to see how that was done for that state, for that notary, and even verify they're an actual notary. They have a whole system, is what I recall. So if we don't, the way the current language reads, it excludes this, and we need the amendment, is the way I read it, because they do go through that process. So I don't see what the speaker's seeing. I see what Councilman Coates is seeing.
If I could respond briefly to that. What we're trying to amend here, again, I would reiterate, is no different than what the Election Commission has been doing all along. It would simply allow them to continue to do what they have always done here.
When was it changed?
It was changed in January of this year when we passed amendments to the election code, and we specified now that it had to be on the envelope. So in a way, we've sort of taken, leniency away from the Election Commission on this point.
Councilor Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wonder, do all 50 states, are we going to have to put something in for each 50 states now that we're worried about? It's just, I don't think anybody can answer that.
This is the only state that's ever had an issue. The Election Commission has repeatedly noted that.
But they've
Because of
accepted all, but
California's law itself.
they've accepted everything from California so far.
So far.
Yeah. So there's,
But there has been a change.
I don't know what the problem is.
Because there's been a change to the language since we last had an election that
The
creates a new
election commissioner
problem.
has stated here, I think, that he will accept that somewhere in the letter you just given us.
But he can't.
We honor all notary information.
But the law says that they can't now. If somebody wanted to challenge this, it would
And
go
they
down
probably
to court,
will.
is my concern.
I don't think Cherokee Nation's ever had an election where it wasn't challenged.
Yeah.
Councilor Thornton.
If that jurat is signed by the person that's voting, is that what's going to be on it? Is the person that's voting signed the jurat?
The person that
It's
votes
notarized?
signs the envelope. The notary on the jurat is swearing that they have witnessed and have checked the identification of the person who signed
Well,
the
why not just
envelope.
go ahead and put the person's name on the jurat where they can sign the jurat too? Is it against California law for them to sign a jurat?
These are the forms that they use, and they're not laid out that way, so
I think it is. I think they can sign the jurat, put a signature on the spot.
So the notary and the person's
It's gonna be
signature are not on the
notarized
same
by them.
document?
If they sign it.
But again, they never have been in all of these elections. They never have been, and the Election Commission has always accepted them. So this is not any different than what's always been done. It's just legally allowing the Election Commission to continue to do what they have always done.
The last election, all our California ballots coming in had a different slip of paper in them?
Many of them did. And in every election thus far, yes.
What's the election commission say, Speaker?
They sent you a letter.
I couldn't read it.
It says, if I read the last line, they're already doing it. All of these are accepted by the commission. I mean, not everything is covered by this law. They have their own policies over there. And
this law says the envelope must be notarized. They cannot set a policy that is contrary to the law.
And that's why I'm saying if we just put that juret on the left-hand side of the envelope, then they have an option. They can either be, it can be signed in front of them and the juret filled out, or it can be signed in front of them and the notary filled out. And we've got the left-hand side of the envelope is vacant right now. So I don't see what the problem would be in just adding that to that envelope. Let them sign either place. Then we have their signature on the same sheet that the acknowledgement or the juret's on. Because on this juret, as I understand it, you don't have the voter's signature.
You have a problem of having the voter's signature on there, Councilor Coe?
What I'm envisioning is that notaries in California appear to be confused by a ballot coming from a tribal jurisdiction outside of the state. They don't know what to do with it. And so the experience has been that they do a lot of different things with it.
Yeah.
And I think that even if we have a jurat printed on the envelope, my suspicion is there's still going to be notaries that notarize a slip of paper and throw it inside. You know, and because that's what they've done in the past, that's what they do for other things, and I just think it leaves the California vote vulnerable, in jeopardy, because we don't know what the notaries are going to do. They've done a variety of different things.
But we don't know what's going to happen if we have 250 envelopes moving around in the system with just a signature on them, and a separate sheet of paper is just dropped in an envelope, and we don't know whether that person actually came in front of that notary or whoever's doing the juret, which I understand is a notary too. It's just a different way of notarizing. We don't know that they've come in front of them. I'd like to see the signature at the same place where the notary is done. And as to challenges, Julia, we've had challenges of every election that we have ever had since my involvement with elections goes all the way back to Ross Swimmer. There has been a challenge of every election. There are always people out there that will challenge an election. So, I mean, we cannot make it challenge-proof. We just can't do it.
Yeah. We've got a situation in 2011 where we had a very contested election and 3 different counts of the votes, and the last one being by the court. And I believe our Supreme Court actually issued a statement that they were impressed by the way that the Election Commission had kept these little slips of paper and everything together, that they had done a good job of doing that. This is what has always, always, always been done in the past. So I guess I'm a little confounded by the sudden concern about it when there hasn't been any concern about it going all the way back to Ross Swimmer's administration, as this has always been done this way.
If I may respond, if it's working, why are we even addressing this?
Because we've changed the law, so it doesn't allow this any longer.
I just want to see their signature where the notary or the juret's at. And if you can figure out a way to do that, that's great. Seems like Election Commission's already figured it out.
Well, they have, but what they figured out is contrary to the law. So we'll see, I guess.
You have a problem
But I think that for the voters in California, this is a clear, you know, it's dismaying because this body apparently doesn't seem to be willing to to do one
Mr.
little
Chairman,
thing.
I take issue
To
with that.
protect,
I do too.
I take issue with that.
protect their right to vote in
Excuse
this
me.
election.
Okay, Counselor
Point
Lay.
of order. I believe Councilwoman Coates has the floor.
I'm getting ready to take the floor. We have copies that are being made, and I was getting ready to ask Counselor Coates, do you have a problem with tabling this?
Well, I tabled it
Because what-
last month.
Yes, well, and we do that because
Yeah.
it sounds like you've got an issue here, Speaker's got an issue here. I mean,
I
we're,
thought the speaker and I had worked things out, but I guess I was mistaken about
Yes.
that, yeah. So-
okay. Well, I'm throwing
I
an
thought
option.
I had offered a compromise that we put it on the envelope.
This
it
is the
solves
first I'm hearing
problem.
of that is in this meeting
Well,
right now.
you didn't email me until about 12:48.
I was
and our
trying, I
meeting
called
starts at
you
1 o'clock.
and your voicemail box isn't set up. I emailed you, your mailbox was full and,
Well, it
Yeah.
bounces over to my private email, so I got it
okay,
at 12:48.
well, that was the second one I sent. The first one I sent came back to me.
You could have called me during the month.
I could have.
Now, back to, do you think you have a problem tabling this? Because it sounds like we're not on board with this
We're
right
not
now.
on board, so we'll table it for 1 month.
Is that okay?
I will second to table.
Okay. All in favor, signify.
Aye.
I have
Yes.
something to say. Why can we not print on the envelope, State of California only, and then put the language that is specific to their state? I see that in legal documents all the time. There may be 3 or 4 states, but it's in legal documents all the time. That way we have their state-specific language,
Sure.
and we have our voter signature on the other side.
Okay.
And I see that as a good compromise.
I move to take this off the table.
I'll second. Speaker, I see it as a good compromise.
Wait, there's a motion to take
Oh,
this
I'm
off the table, and there's a second. Discussion again?
I'll discuss it.
Do we have to vote on that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. This is to take it off the table. We already tabled it once till next month. This is to put it back on.
Point of order, we technically didn't finish the table because you only had a call for ayes and you did not have a call for an A. I mean, just trying to keep it in order.
Where are we on that, Shelley? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying ayes. All opposed?
This is to take it off the table?
No, this
No.
is
Okay.
not table it.
Yeah.
To not table.
To not table.
No.
I do not want to table. I want to discuss it more.
Okay.
So I don't know if we got enough to not table it or not.
Roll call.
Shelley, do roll call.
And what's this for? Taking it off,
This is to not table.
putting it on.
Well, either way, you're either going to vote to
Point of
table
order,
or not
Mr.
table.
Chairman. This is the motion to table, which was never concluded, and I've asked for a roll
Okay,
call
we have a
vote.
motion to table on the floor. Okay? Correct? Okay, have a motion. Okay, got a second? I got a second. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed?
Aye.
All right. Here we, now we're good.
Madam Speaker,
Now,
thank you.
ladies?
I see this as an acceptable compromise also, which you're suggesting. I see it as an acceptable compromise. My concern is that I want to solidify that this is indeed what will be done. Because, as I said, this election commission, I trust, would do it for the 2015 election. I don't have any doubts about that. But we can't know what's going to happen in 2017 and 2019 and all of the years to come. And I want to secure the vote for the Cherokee Nation citizens who are in California. So I'm just saying, if we're going to do this, and it is a good compromise to address your concerns, that the same document be signed by the notary and by the citizen. But if we can put a little phrase in the law here itself, that will ensure that all future election commissions and all future elections will also abide by this compromise, because otherwise it's a situation where a future body in some future year and decide to set a different policy that would again shut out.
Well, Councilor Coates, that
California
happens
people.
all the time, though, because a different council will get elected. They can always go in and amend. I mean, you only pass laws, and then you got the council with the new council. I mean, you're trying to set this from now until forever. I'm not sure there's anything.
I realize that. We've seen that
Yes,
this past January.
absolutely.
Exactly.
And you're asking for the
this
same
whole
thing to happen.
problem was, became about at that
Yes.
time.
Councilor Thornton.
What if California changes their law?
Yeah.
Accommodate us?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do then? Change ours because they changed?
Councilor Fulbright.
Yes, thank you.
Can't understand.
I'm sure everybody on the council has got lots of relatives and friends in California. We all do, and we want to simplify it for them. And I have lots of relatives out there, and it is a complicated issue with them getting this notarized. I'd like to see it corrected, simplify it for all of them, but I don't know exactly what the best answer is, but something needs to be done about it, because it's just about an impossibility for them. Well, it's not an impossibility, they do vote, but it's really hard, and it's confusing for them. So I'd like for us to do something about it. That's all I've got to say.
Okay.
But we are interested in our California voters.
Absolutely. When you got kin folks there, we're all interested in it. Okay, Councilor Lay?
Thanks, sir, and I too have some kin folks out there. Bill Horton says all of these are accepted by this commission. A good compromise was just offered and apparently refused. And so I don't understand why the compromise wasn't taken. If you say, or a giraffe, then are all the other 50 states going to start throwing giraffes in these things and nobody's signing them? That would be my concern. We've had this, every election we've ever had has been contested, not just since Ross.
That's correct.
All of them have been. And so we developed a system where people sign that envelope. And for the most part, it works. We've got a compromise for California. And I hope that can be accepted. Thanks, sir.
Okay, no, we'll take. Anybody else, speaker?
Well, I think we can put it on the envelope. I don't think we have to change the law. And I would suggest that instead of it saying State of California, it says State of and it has a blank. In case there are other jurisdictions that may have this same, I don't know what all 50 states do. I think that they probably either do a notary or this process. I think we just need it all on what they're signing, not a separate piece of paper. I see too many things that could happen with a separate piece of paper that they're not signing. And not saying that anybody do anything wrong, but I could see it happening. If we put it on the envelope, we have the notary do one or the other of the, either the jurat or the notary thing, we've got it done. I think it's a good compromise, and I don't think we have to change the law to do that. Now, if you want to table for a month or two and see if the election commission will do that, which I think that if we want them to do that, they will do that, I would be fine with that. If you want to put something in concrete that you think is going to be followed by the council after we leave, I'm telling you right now, that's not the way it works. And Julia, you already know that after 8 years, that they can change any darn thing that they want to change about these laws. All we can do is take care of what we're in office. Now, when people leave and other people come in, they may see something different about these laws that we don't see. I think we can fix it for the 15 election with the compromise. And that's the most that we can be expected to do, because the year after that, somebody else would be sitting in these chairs looking at these elections.
We can control that part, but after that, who knows? Councilor Watts, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to be clear, and I ask that we put in the record that the legislative intent of this body is that
The Election Commission, under the law we've written, whether we agree on how it's worded or not, the intent is to accept legal California notaries. Whether it meets the envelope or whatever else is actually put out as a policy by the Election Commission, it is to accept a legal California notary, and that is the intent of this body when they pass that language, whether we agree on the language or not. I want that in the record, in the meeting minute notes, and then I would ask too that there be an opinion by the AG and the counsel or the attorney of the Election Commission to this beyond the letter that the Election Commissioner Chair has already written.
And that's your comment, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Speaker.
because we can't tell the election commission
No.
attorney to do anything.
No.
Now, we can ask our attorney, who represents us, to do an opinion, but we can't go tell an autonomous body, you will get an opinion.
Actually, the law reads differently than that. I disagree with the memo they issued a couple of months ago. They are to report to us and answer questions. That's in the law. And I'm not saying that they have to issue an opinion that says a certain thing. I'm asking them to respond to us about an actual inquiry to a specific issue concerning the law that impacts our voters. I'm not telling them how to write that or what it says. I'm asking for their body,
Sure.
their legal counsel to give them an official opinion, as well as the Attorney General of the Cherokee Nation. I want to clear the air. That's what I hear from this body. That's the only way legally we can start setting the record for should we go to court that we have done our due diligence as a body, in my personal opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
They have
Yes.
already responded, by the way.
Yes, everybody has the letter.
So is that their legal opinion? Is that what you're stating for the record, for the
That's-
legal record? Is
Bill
that their-
Horton signed that as the election commissioner chairman.
So that would have been reviewed by their attorney and considered their legal force of
I have
law
no
or
idea-
policy?
I have no idea
I'd like
how this letter
clarification.
even came to us, but it did come to us.
Is that a vote of the entire commission that they're saying there is full in force that this letter's?
Well, we don't have that. We'll have to get, that's why I suggested you
Mr. Chairman,
guys.
I'd appreciate that
Yeah,
then.
I suggested you guys table this till we had the election commission coming back or somebody, and then you guys wanted to discuss this again, if you remember. Okay, Councilor Coe.
I just wanted to make a quick response to the speaker, because
Okay.
again, I don't have a problem with the compromise that you're suggesting. I think it's a good compromise. And you're right, a council can change the law anytime that they want to in the future, and there's no way we can set anything in stone except constitutionally, and even then, maybe it isn't. But I'll tell you one thing, is that when a council, a body of 17 people in an open meeting such as this, makes this decision, it is a long deliberative discussion about it.
Yes.
When the election commission changes a policy, it's not even necessarily done in an open meeting with comment or public input or anything else. It's just, and it's much easier to make a policy change, as we all know. I mean, yes, I've been on this body for 8 years, but what I know from life experience and professional experience, of course, it's much easier to make a policy change than to change a law. And that's my concern. If policy of the election commission is as far as this body is willing to go in this year of 2014, then so be it. Then that's how it will go down. But I think that there is still a stronger way for us to ensure that the votes from California will be protected, even though, yeah, some council in the future might change that. But it will be a lot harder to change it if the council sets this in law than if the election commission simply does it by policy. And so that continues to be a concern for me. So that's it. Thank you.
Chairman Byrd?
Yes.
I'm informed by this, Shelley, that the election commission comes up for their report next month in person, is that right? So we could ask them next month.
Sure.
And we could also send information that, would they consider it? And maybe it'll all be taken care of by next month. You want to continue, you want to table for a month till they are here? Or would you like to?
September, sure.
Okay. So
Are
But
you
we're
making
getting
it-
close. We need to do this within the next couple of months.
And then if over the month we work something out, well, we work something out. I'm too not, I want to see the California vote come in. I have kinfolks living out there.
We
I
would
wanna
not
see 'em.
want to see any of our citizens not get an opportunity to vote. I mean, to me, they're important, but all of our counties are important, all of our people, so.
But it's very quickly coming to the point that we could end up with 50 different things if we're not careful.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is you want a motion to table for 30 days?
Is that coming from you,
Yes.
Julia? And I'll make that second.
Motion, second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, tabled. What do we have left? New business, discussion and possible action. Councilor Hargis?
This is from the work group that we formed to review the request for recognition from the council. I've passed out a paper to everyone. This is our suggestions, just open for discussion. As far as number one, the recipient must be a registered Cherokee Nation tribal member or a friend of the Cherokees. That was at Mr. Baker's. He requested that, and we're going to define that, and he's got something that we're working on. We'll let y'all, I'll defer to him.
Thank you. I stated that a friend, someone who's made a significant contribution to the Cherokee Nation or to the preservation of our history and culture, which basically would be the same as items 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it's a non-Cherokee who's done that. An example was I had asked for Jeff Stansel to be nominated as friend of the Cherokees, and he's one who had worked his entire career, more than 30 years, at the New Eshota and the Van House on preserving our Cherokee history and culture there. And so Ms. Bonnegan named him as a friend.
Almost sounds like a national treasure. Okay, any discussion?
Now, these names and resumes would be submitted to the work group.
Yes.
First to see that they meet all of this criteria, and then the work group will bring this back to this committee with maybe a little check sheet.
Yes.
That they have met the different criteria. Is that what I'm understanding will happen?
Yes.
Okay, is that the way you understand it?
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Thornton?
Mr. Baker, would it be a problem with adding language to this?
To add language?
You got cultural values and history, Cherokee. Would it be a problem to add language to it?
No.
Oh.
I'd like to see language.
Might I add something else?
Sure.
This committee might also make recommendations of whether they think it might be more appropriate to handle this at a community setting versus a tribal council setting. Because I know a lot of you all are taking care of this at your community meetings. And what she will be developing is a certificate. Her committee will, or work group will develop a certificate that we can maybe have made up, and you all can utilize that and give it out at your community meetings. And that's where a lot of things may be able to be taken care of.
Yeah. You know, we've been recognizing these people at, I know what I have in my district, community meetings, but it wasn't, I usually took some of these traits, but not all the traits. It wasn't really a structured way that I think the council was doing it, so at least it gives us something to go by. Anybody else have a comment on that? Who all's in your group, Frankie?
Curtis, Victoria, Jack,
Okay.
and Janelle.
Okay. Good job. That's a good start.
And it will have to continue to be a work group from this point on so that we can seek their input on each one of these individuals as they come up. This way, no one should be embarrassed. If they don't meet the criteria, it will be vetted here, and it would, the recommendation might be, let's don't do it at this time. But it would keep it from coming up in this particular committee.
Okay. Anything else?
If you have any suggestions or recommendations, you can email me or give me a call.
Well, that's what I was asking. Are you want to leave it like this, or you want to move for?
Say leave it like this.
Okay.
It would be an advisement to the full committee of what they're doing.
Councilor Watts?
Just to make sure my mind's clear, can somebody tell me
It's going to be difficult.
if I wanted to bring something forward, honoring somebody, what is the process then?
We never did have a process. That's what I'm saying here. I mean, I think everyone was doing their own thing. I've been to community meetings where I saw people get recognized, and I go, well, okay, great. You go to another community, same thing. Council meetings, it was just, kind of arbitrarily appointing somebody or not, recognizing people. We need to have some form of structure, I think, to do this if we're going to recognize these people.
I think in regard to that maybe we do need to add a sentence or something, or defining how, if a counselor hears of someone they want to recognize, how they can go about sending this to us. So we don't have that on here right now, and I think we need to add that.
Okay, table this for a month, and we'll bring some forms back and have some procedures.
Okay. Motion to table?
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Sound like you're off to a good start, Frankie. Okay, announcements, anybody? Next meeting date would be Thursday, August 28th.
Motion adjourned.
Motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
You ended before.